Is this on? Yes? You need it? You guys are better? Is it working there?
So we can hear you. Turn it off and let us hear about it.
Okay. All kinds of technical problems tonight, right? All right.
Still tape it.
Well, if you're not needing it, I don't need it.
Still tape.
So again, you know, as you're hearing, I've gotten enough experience that I can, one, probably help us figure out, at least from different angles, because what I'm going to do is I come at things from multiple angles. I taught the courses for the applied behavior analysis teachers. When you had to get your BCBA, you took my ABA courses. So I can come at it from an ABA perspective, and many of you have been through ABA, and wonderful tool. The problem is that if it's the only tool you've got, it's like playing golf with one club. Right? You can play, but boy, it's a lot tougher game to play with only a putter. Right? And then I have the developmental piece, and so I can think about developmentally, where is someone at? And that gives me a whole other angle on things. And then I was fortunate to work with wonderful speech pathologists, and I got the communication piece. And then over time, as I was teaching all of these courses and gaining knowledge from all different areas, I'm able to bring that in now on as I work with. And then the last one is I love coaching. I love training teachers. I love training teachers how to teach. I love to teach. And so all that's coming together. So with that in mind, what I'm going to do tonight is take you through the behavior escalation cycle. Then I'm going to talk about emotional regulation, and then I'll talk to you about how do we teach emotional regulation. Here at the Academy, we're going to be implementing a curriculum called Zones Regulation, and it'll follow that same format. And then I'll show you some of those resources, and then I'll leave time at the end for questions and answers. So the first question I like to ask when I give a presentation is, who are the people in the room that notice when you go to a speaker and there's no agenda? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. So about a third of the room notices when there's no agenda, right? What does it feel like when there's no agenda? Someone share some words for me.
You don't know what's going to happen.
I don't know what's going to happen.
How long is this going to be?
How long is this going to be? Right? Which means, right, how, do I want to endure this pain or not, right? Where's the exit? Where's the ending? All right? What are you hearing when you hear those words? What's the emotion underneath all that? Anxiety. Anxiety is rooted in fear. Fear drives the fight or flight reflex. And so the first thing that I train teachers is having a visual agenda for 1/3 of your students takes them out of the beginning of fight or flight. Because they come in and they say, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. And for some of our guys, I guess I got to tell them what's going to happen. And they start creating. Right? With no structure, they'll create one for you. You ain't got a plan, I got a plan. And it goes my way, and it's a great plan for me. You're not going to love it, but it's great for me. All right? For 1/3 of you, it's a must-have. For 2/3 of you, it's a nice-to-have. And for the other third, if you're like me, I never even noticed somebody. Not my style. But I always present it. And so this is what I'm doing with the teachers is, why it's effective is it's allowing you to predict. So if your first strategy is you want to lower anxiety, you give predictability. When you can predict what's going to come, you don't stress about it as much. Even if it's pain. If you know pain is going to end, you will endure the pain. It's when you don't know if it's going to end that you won't endure. Right? So if we were doing a workout class, we're like, arms up, arms up. Ah, I can't help anymore. I'm down. But if that teacher says 2 more, you'll hang in there for 2 more. You will endure pain if you know it's going to end. So giving that predictability. So for our teachers, it's things like 2 more minutes and we're going to be putting that away. You just need to do this page of 6 and that's all you have to do. Right? For my parents, what we did for Mateo was we started setting up a schedule. Right? Review it with him the night before. When he gets up, show him the schedule. Now he can predict. Took him down a notch. Right? For Michael, same thing. We got a schedule going. So a visual schedule, just like that visual agenda, It's amazing. And the guys say, I don't need that. I know what's happening. Yeah, watch. Right? Even, even when I know that it was payday and, my check should have hit today, it's still nice to know it's there. I don't have to look at it, but I just know it's here. It's comforting. So that's what a schedule does. That's what a visual does. So your first lesson is predictability. You're going to see that theme running throughout. All right, so we're going to talk about behavior. We're going to start with some basic assumptions about behavior prevention. And then I'll talk about throughout the assumptions of support and de-escalation. The first assumption about behavior is behaviors occur for a reason. Every behavior occurs for a reason. It's got to be our assumption as we start interacting with these behaviors. If you assume a behavior has no good reason, what's your next move? Make them stop. Got no good reason, you just need to cut it out. Well, if they didn't have a better behavior, and that was the best one they had, they're going to have to figure out a new one, and it ain't going to be better, I guarantee you. Right? But if I assume it's got a good reason, what's your next question? Why? And so, the why is usually they're trying to tell us something. They're trying to tell us something, and they don't have the right words. So they're using behavior. Because when words fail, we go to behavior. Notice I said we. I didn't say kids. I said we. Right? When I'm driving along and I get cut off before I get the words out, I tell him he's number one. Right? In a heated discussion with my wife, and then it's When words fail, we go to behavior. For most of our guys, the words fail much quicker. They have less language. So you're getting a lot of behavior. So if I assume the behavior is trying to tell me something, my next thing is, what's the right way to tell me what you want? And then let me teach you that. Because this is what I know about behavior. If the other way works better, you'll use it. But if it doesn't work, you'll go back to the one you were doing before. And what's happened is, for most parents that I deal with, you started out with a kid who was having meltdowns and was dysregulated, and you kept adjusting so you didn't have the meltdown. And pretty soon, they're 8, 9, 10, and you're still adjusting, and they've never learned another way. And so that was the other piece that I bring to the parents is, we're going to start teaching them another way. And we're going to make it more effective. We're going to reward it. We're going to make it work so well that he's going to rather do that one. And then we'll fade out those incentives. So these are the assumptions that we're going with. The next one is we're going to tend towards reinforcement over punishment. Most of us were raised with punishment. It's what we were brought up on. And here's the problem with punishment. It fools you into thinking you did something. It fools you because it looks like the first time it worked. Because it stops the behavior. This is the problem with punishment. How many of us, you're like me, got a speeding ticket before? How many of us stopped speeding? How many of us stopped speeding for about a week? How many of us still slow down at the spot where we got the ticket? That's the problem with punishment. Anybody who's got a toddler and they start toddling and they go, over to the light socket and you say, leave it, and you slap their hand. This is what they do next. They go to the next one and they look at you. What? Why? Because punishment, it affects that place at that time. So that street corner has now been punished and you know not to do it there. But it didn't teach you a new behavior, and you're going to do the same old behavior in the other places. Punishment doesn't work, but it fools you because it looks like it did for about a week. It stops a behavior. It did not teach a new behavior. So he still doesn't know better. He just knows not to do that. That's a problem. So we're going to be in the mode of thinking about how do we teach new behaviors. We're going to shoot for preventing the behavior rather than reacting to it. If I can get in front of it and start setting up the situation so that I don't have to be going down that path, that's a lot easier. It's a little more work on the front end. We got parents creating schedules right now. It's a little more work, but boy, it paid off pretty quickly. And then they said, boy, I'm glad I got the schedule. I didn't think it was, but man, or, it's a little bit of a pain to review it every night, but boy, when I don't, the next morning, it all comes back, right? So, prevention, overreacting. So, how do we prevent? Good prevention communicates expectations. Before I took my girls into the grocery store, when they were little, I said, okay, here's the rules. We go in, you stay next to the cart. You move away from the cart, nobody gets a gumball. Anybody asks if we get gumballs today, nobody gets a gumball. Got it? In we go, nobody asks about gumball. Right? Ahead, before I went in, I said, these are the expectations. These are the consequences. Before. And then I just talked about predictability. The strategies we want are ones that give our guys predictability. Once I've taken care of predictability, we'll see the anxiety come down. And then we can see what behaviors are next. But as long as they don't know, I can't tell if they can predict, I can't tell you if it's anxiety over the predictability or if there's something else driving the behavior. So we're going to eliminate variables. This is the easiest one to eliminate. Just start giving predictability. This is the schedule, this is how we do, this is what we're going to do, this is how we choose, and we can move down that path. So level 1 behavior is when our guys are calm. They're chugging along fine. And at that point, we're doing these preventative strategies. We're reviewing the rules, we're reminding them of the expectations, right? You want to create routines. This is the bedtime routine. This is the dinner routine. This is the teeth brushing routine. This is the packing for school routine. You want to create routines. Some of our guys, you want to set up visuals to remind them of that routine. This is the box where your backpack goes when you come home every day. Right? In the morning, let's go to the box and get the backpack. What do you see? The shoes. What comes next? I put my shoes on. Right? If I want to start the dressing routine, I have to close out. And then you know how to start that routine. So those routines are critical. You guys have a morning routine? Yeah? What happens when your morning routine is disrupted? It goes to hell, right? What's your day like when your morning routine has been disrupted? You're thinking all day what? Well, it's not going to be a good day. Something's not right. I'm forgetting something. So here's the question. Do you think about your morning routine? Do you think about how you brush your teeth, fix your hair, whatever? No. So what are you thinking about? Right? Well, if it's disrupted and you're feeling like you don't know what's going to go wrong, it tells us that what you're doing is you're planning your day. Your morning routine is you're in automatic mode, but your brain is thinking about other things. It's planning out the day. Don't forget, I got to pick this up, and oh, we're out of rice. I got to remember to buy that, and oh yeah, I got to swing by and get his new thing. Right? You're mapping it out. That's why when it's disrupted, you feel like I'm going to forget something today. It's that feeling of something's not right, and I don't know what it is. It's because you didn't get to pre-plan. That's what our guys feel like all the time when they can't predict.
So let me ask you a question, because part of what we've done with our son is I'm more unpredictable just in general, and that's the way my brain works, and so I try to throw him into these situations often because I know that it's challenging for him, and I know predictability matters and it's a good thing, but I don't know that you covered this in this discussion, but like, is there value in really trying to push them out of their comfort zone?
Once I've got the skills that I need him to do, then I can expand his skills. But until he has the skills, I wouldn't want to do it. I don't want to throw him in the deep end until I teach him how to tread water where he can spot.
Okay.
So I want to give him predictability, get him the skills he needs to tread water, and then I can take him out where he can still go down and touch the bottom, push up. And then once he's got that and he's swimming, then I'll let him go. So what you're asking is, can I just throw him in the deep end? You can, but he's going to flout.
Yeah, because when we travel internationally, like it's like a whole big deep end for them, you know. And
Yeah, and so some of us have talked about traveling and just starting to set up at least an expectation of we're going to go to the airport, we're going to take off our shoes, we're going to have to wait a long time, then the gate may change, mom and dad are going to be stressed. You can put all that out and just pre-plan it. You know, you can almost predict most of it, and then, you know. But we'll talk about another time. We'll talk about how to teach some of these flexible thinking strategies. Again, I'll cover that when we get more into the behavior stuff. But for today, I'm going to just talk about that escalation cycle first. But good question, and I'll come back to it at the end if you want. All right, so the routines. They free your brain to think about other things. So when you create routines for your sons and daughters, they're then free to think about other things. And that's a good thing, especially when we're talking about things like we want them to think about what we're asking them to process, or we're having a conversation, or in school, we want them to think about learning. If they don't have a routine in the classroom, their brain is not free to learn. It's just like you when your morning routine is disrupted. Your brain is not very good at learning that. All right, so the rules and routines. Proximity matters. Making sure that if I know he gets into trouble with this particular thing, I'm moving that thing. Or if I know he has trouble with, like when we get to the road and he likes to run across, I'm going to move up close. But what I know is that if I'm within 3 feet of somebody, I've got more chance of compliance than if I'm more than 3 feet away. The research is pretty clear. For each foot you're away from 3 feet, the likelihood someone's complying drops by 10%. By the time you get 10 feet away, you're not getting compliance. And this is what I know too about being far away and trying to correct somebody. The farther away I am, the louder I get. And the louder I get, the more escalated I get. The more escalated I am, by the time I get to you, I'm not going to be so good with you. So when I'm going to deal with somebody or behavior, I'm going to move in, and I'm going to get within 3 feet. And as I'm moving, in my head, this is what's going on. Breathe, breathe, breathe. And I'm going to calm myself. So that when I get here, I'll go, hey, what's going on? Right? Because if I'm not in control, I got 2 people in the yellow now, it ain't going to be good. I need somebody in the green if somebody's in the yellow. So, proximity matters. So, knowing when you need to get close to somebody, knowing when you need to move them away from something. When they're functioning fine, don't just leave it. That's when you catch them being good. Reinforce. You know, I really like how quiet you were while Mrs. So-and-so was talking. I really appreciate that. Even though we didn't know it was coming and I had to run that extra errand that you hung in there with. Praise when things are going well. The mistake we make is, oh, nothing's going on. Right? I won't say anything. No. No, opposite. Right? Let them know that's what you like. Let them know. And then review expectations with them. I have in your chart, I believe there's a social map on one of the pages that we ran for you. Yeah, here you go. Maybe you're from that good. Did one. Okay, that's right. So what you've got here is one way that we can help them. Actually, flip to the back one. It's probably a better one. So this is classroom participation as an example. Right? And so what you've got is a way of helping them understand expectations ahead of time. It's got expected and unexpected behaviors. So that first column, what are the expected behaviors for classroom participation? And then it goes down. The next column, how does it make others feel when you do these good things? Other side, unexpected behaviors, how does it make them feel? Then you see the arrows going over. When they feel that way, how do they treat you? When they treat you that way, how does it make you feel? And so what this map does is it helps them understand how their behavior is determining the outcome that they're getting. Money guys don't understand that. In fact, they do this all the time. He's being mean to me. What happened? I told him he was an asshole. Oh. Why? I want to be his friend. Oh. So what we do is we create maps like this to help them understand what's expected and what's unexpected. That frame is nice because it doesn't say right or wrong. It simply says that if you want to do the unexpected stuff, you can, but this is where it takes you. problem with a lot of the behaviors is they're not right or wrong, they're just weird. They're just odd, right? And so when I'm working with adults especially, I'm telling you now, what I'm doing, I didn't do much of my introduction, but I'm working now at Mercy Hospital after I retired. I took on a job there where I've got adults with developmental disabilities, and they volunteer, and I get them into job settings, and then I train them up, and then I move them into jobs. And the skills that they're getting at 27 and 30 and 35 I'm helping them with these unexpected behaviors. Right? Right? Molly's wonderful, so just the most wonderful human being on the planet, and she just loves to help. And she didn't understand that if someone's eyes aren't on you, they aren't with you. She didn't understand that if someone's not looking at you, they're not thinking about you. Her autism didn't allow her to know that. Right? So we go into a room. She comes to get this. It was an elderly lady, and she was going to get in the wheelchair, and Molly was going to push her out. And the nurse is talking to the lady. Now listen, your prescriptions are this. Molly takes the form and sticks it between the nurse and the lady and says, I need you to sign this. I knew she made an error. The nurse certainly knew she made an error. Molly had no clue she made an error. Molly, come here. I know you would never want to offend anybody. You just were very rude to that patient and that nurse. I was? Yes. When you come in the room, you knock, and you wait till that nurse gives you her eyes. Then she's ready to talk to you. Then once she gives you her eyes, then you can say, then you know she's ready. I said, but you didn't have her eyes. The whole next day, Molly. Hi, Dr. Bruno. I waited for your eyes. Yeah, you know what used to happen? I'd be on the phone or on the computer, and she'd be talking to me. She'd be telling me about her morning, her day. I'm not ready for you, Molly. I'm not even thinking about you because I'm on the computer. Now she had that skill. And she stopped. Right? So, that social map, those expectations, that expected, unexpected behaviors, is one way to teach that. So if we think about the escalation curve, we're going to move through stages. So they're moving fine, and then we start getting simmering behavior. We're going to see a change in behavior. They're going to start ramping up on us. And then they're going to move into that standoff phase. And then if we can't turn it around by here, we're going to get the meltdown. And then once the meltdown comes over, we're going to get that sorrow phase. And then once that sorrow phase is over, I'm going to teach you how to know when that's done, when the cycle's finished, and then we're back to on track again. So that's our cycle. So let's go through those stages. So that simmering stage, what's going on? The brain is moving into fight or flight. So fight or flight is that response, fight, flight, or freeze, actually. Yes, ma'am?
I was going to ask about freeze, so you took
Yeah.
the question away from me.
No, there's different models. There's 5 of them, too.
Okay.
Fight, flight, freeze, flock. And I forgot the 5th one now. But there's a couple of others out there, too, that you can think about. But freeze is definitely one of them. Yeah, so fight, flight is what we were taught in high school. It's now fight, flight, or freeze is the pretty standard. Flocking is the other one where you'll look for your tribe, right? And look for a group is another strategy, which is why we all went crazy with COVID, because we all got stressed and we couldn't flock. Right? And then we all got left in fight or flight for a long time. So, but fight, flight, or freeze is the ones that probably helps us the most. All right? So what's going on? Let's pretend like this is kind of a model of the brain, and all of this is the outer part of the brain where all the great thinking goes on, choices, thinking about good choices, bad choices, and then this is the middle cortex brain. This is the wizard brain, this is the lizard brain. This is the thinking brain, this is the reacting brain. This brain is the one that keeps you alive. It's your survival brain. Fight, flight, or freeze is a survival mechanism that's found in the whole animal kingdom. So what's going on? As those hormones start to kick out, right, that adrenaline starts to move in, it says, get ready to fight or run or freeze. Play possum. That's how you're going to survive. So what does it do? It starts moving blood to the places you need for fight or flight. It takes blood from places you don't need. You don't need to be thinking so much. You need to be ready to run up the tree. It takes blood from your stomach. You don't need to digest right now. So your stomach goes grrr. So when you got handed that test and you didn't know the first problem and your stomach went grrr, you were moving into fight or flight. You were moving into anxiousness. Right? before you got to give a speech somewhere, or stage fright, right? Or our kids will tell us, my tummy doesn't feel so good, right? When they're getting anxious, they'll get the tummy ache. That's fight or flight, moving blood out of the digestion system, and so you feel it in your gut. Right? So it's moving. Where's it sending the blood? Well, you need it in your muscles. So it starts moving to major muscles. It starts constricting your blood vessels, and it starts pumping your heart. We're going to get some lots of oxygen in those muscles. Well, if you start getting oxygen in your muscles, you start moving. Right? And for those of you who have our guys, high-function guys with autism, you start getting language. 210. 210 is dismissal. 210. 210. You're picking up today, right? You're picking up. You're picking up, right? You're the one. Right? That ramping up tells you that they're going from that green up into the yellow and they're heading to red. So if you got the guys that use the language, they're going to start asking you information-seeking questions. They're going to start asking you questions that they want you to confirm the routine. Do they know the answer to these questions? Absolutely. Almost 100% of the time. So they're not asking because they don't know. They're asking because they're getting worried. And they're saying, please confirm that this is correct. That tells me they don't know the schedule. That tells me there wasn't an agenda. That tells me that someone didn't get the routine set with them. So I already know the solution to this one. I'm going to start reinforcing the routine with you. I'm going to start reinforcing a schedule. I'm going to get a visual schedule on the fridge because I'm getting that behavior. So here's the problem. When they ask you questions that they know the answer to, your first response is usually, you spend more time doing the work instead of asking me questions. You'd be dressed already, right? Now, okay, I tried to show you with my behavior that I was getting anxious, and you said, just get busy. I guess I got to show you more behavior, and we're going up. So this is the one that is the most often missed by teachers and most often missed by parents, is because it doesn't look like they're ramping up. And I'm telling you now, if someone's asking questions they know the answer to, that ain't normal. Something's about to come your way. Right? Okay. So, what should we do? Empathy statement. When I'm getting anxious, what I need is someone to say, you look anxious. Are you worried? Are you scared? Is something bothering you? Most of our communication is not about the facts, it's about the emotion. And so the strategy is to deliver an empathy statement. Let's see. Let's practice. Get a partner. Everybody get a shoulder partner. Grab somebody. Either somebody you came with or someone who didn't matter. Just for a second. All right? I need someone in the group to decide who's A and who's B. So you guys are together. Chris needs a partner here. Somebody want to come back? Okay. You got two. Somebody not have a partner? Oh, wait. You're together? You guys Hey, you know what? I tell you what, Chris, how about come over here. We got somebody here. All right. Decide who's A and who's B. Got it? A. I want you to start thinking about an emotional story. It can be something that was happy. It can be something that was terrible today. It can be, I don't care. I just need an emotion in the story. So whoever A is, be thinking about the story. B. This is your job. Your job is to violate all the rules of empathy statements. So, as they're talking, I want you to look at your watch, look over their head, look down, change the subject. You're going to be a terrible listener. Okay? Got it? A's, start telling a story about something that can be made up or real. Go. Feel when they started looking past you, looking at their watch, looking at their phone? Difficult? How did it feel? Rude. How did it feel?
They don't care.
They don't care. I'm not that important to them. Right. Good. What did you notice in behavior? As you were getting the not looking at you, not talking to you, what did you notice? You did.
I was ready to stop my story.
I stopped.
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
I'm done. You don't care, you don't get my story. Okay? Somebody else, what did you notice?
What if they didn't stop?
What if the person kept talking? Some of you said, "The hell with you." I'm telling you, you're getting my story. Yeah. Yeah. Some of your kids are the kind who go, "The hell with you." I'm telling you the story. Yeah, for sure. All right. All right, let's fix it. All right? The right way to deliver an empathy statement is we're going to use good listening skills. So 1, we're going to give eye contact. 2, body language. We're going to nod. We're going to be facing them. Right? 3, once they're done delivering the first part of their story, I want you to deliver the emotion you heard. Sounds like that was frustrating. Sounds like that you were worried. That must have been really irritating. Whatever the emotion is. And then we'll see what happens next, all right? So give them same story, A's, B's, nod, give good eye contact, and when it's appropriate, deliver an empathy statement where you label the emotion. Go. Wrap up the story for me. One more day.
One more day.
Let me get eyes back here so I know when you're ready for me again. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Just let me have your eyes up here so I know you're ready for me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. What happened this time, Ace, as you told that story? What did you notice? How did it feel? Engagement. How did it feel? Validated? Understood? What's that? Like she cared. All right. So, an empathy statement where you identify the emotion. Did anybody notice it felt a little stilted, like a weird, like I didn't know where to go next after they labeled the emotion? Right? Like, oh, it usually doesn't come that quickly. Usually you got to have 3 exchanges and then you get the emotion. Right? It'll sometimes cut the conversation off. When someone's escalating, I need it to happen fast. Right? For normal conversation, that's a little weird to like right away, maybe. Right? And maybe give it, go back for more. But when I'm dealing with behavior and someone's ramping up, I need efficiency. So, for most people, an empathy statement where you say, it looks like you're worried, it looks like you're scared, it looks like you're angry, right? Once you label it, the brain says, ah, you saw it. And it usually will turn around. Now, for our guys with autism and for our guys who have language impairments, for our guys with autism especially, they think in pictures. And so when they send out that message, there's a picture in their head. It's like a meme with a sentence underneath it. If you don't send back the exact same sentence and you have one word difference, the picture changes. If you send back the wrong message, what happens? Well, let's go back to what I said. They repeat themselves. Right? When do you repeat yourself? If someone isn't getting what I'm saying. If someone's repeating themselves, you didn't send the message back the way they need it. For our guys on the spectrum, it needs to come back either with they sent a picture, I need to send it back the way it came. And so, a modified empathy statement is mirroring. I will send it back the way you sent it. You're picking me up today. You picking me up today? Yes, it's me. I think your story is funny. The first time we did that with Mateo that morning, do you remember what happened? You repeated what he said.
Well, I mean, eventually he ended up kind of smirking and looking at
Kind of looked at him.
like, what are you doing?
Right? But the repeating stopped. But then the next thing it was, he started negotiating with me. Well, what about this? I said, well, now you got a normal teenager, so I right? But the repeating decrease. So if you're getting repeating, try mirroring. If I'm coming up on somebody, if you watch me de-escalate somebody, especially if they're on the spectrum, the first thing I'm doing is I'm grabbing paper and a pencil. And I write what they say and I show it to them. And very rapidly, I can get them down from what's going on. So you're really upset. Is that right? Do I have it right? I didn't say upset, I said irritated. Oh, let me change that. Irritated. Yes, it's not right that they asked me to do. Okay, don't like it when they ask you. Do I have that right? And boom, 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 they're telling me the story. So again, when someone's ramping up, they need reassurance. Empathy statement. It's the emotion that is the problem. Because what's happening is the emotional brain is 4 times faster than the thinking brain. So if you blink, that reactive brain is 4 times faster than that blink. So it's firing out survival stuff. Right? Before you can decide what's the right thing to do, it's already cueing you to get ready to fight, or flee, or freeze. So if you can label the emotion, the brain says, oh, you heard it, and it pauses it, and now you've got a window to get something done. So the mirroring. If it's something that was too hard, you can back up to an easier task. Provide reassurance. I'm going to be right here with you. We'll do this. We'll get it done. Hey, which one was bothering you? Let's do that one together. Yes, sir.
Does this happen so that we're going down the opposite of a happy path for most of these scenarios that you're describing? But does this happen in a happy path too? So like our son does scripting, and it'll be like, you know, the baby's cute or the bear is growling, and he'll keep saying it.
Repeat it.
And I'll be like, oh yeah, he looks angry, and he'll say it 3 more times. And
Then,
so
yeah, repeat it. The bear looks angry. Yeah, I see it too. But you can add to it after that, but just start or change it into a question. The bear looks angry? And you can change your tone so it doesn't feel as awkward like you're repeating what he said. You can put it into a question with an up top on the end. But try it and see. Because he's telling you that for a reason.
yeah, because it drives her crazy. Because I'll tell her the same thing.
Yeah.
10 times.
Yeah.
And she's
So-
like, what do I do with this?
Yeah, so again, when do we repeat ourselves when we don't feel heard? So repeat it back and see if he feels heard. Write it down. If that doesn't work, and show it to him. If he reads, and then or draw a picture of it and say, is that right? And then just keep going. All right? So I'm going to label what you're showing me. Right? Behavior is communication. I'm going to label it. Looks like you're worried. Looks like you're scared. I'm going to repeat it back if language is an issue and simplify that language. Provide reassurance. It's going to be okay. Endpoint. This was what we said about when is this going to end. Right? So the trick with Mateo is 4 more bites. There's an endpoint. Okay, I'll get through this dinner now. Right? If they're balking at the work, I'll cover up half the page. Okay, how about these 2? Oh, okay. You want to try one more? Oh, okay. And now all of a sudden they're doing the whole page. Right? I just needed to get them out of yellow first. So back up to an easier task. Give them something they can do. Hey, rearrange the pages. Do the problems you want to do first, and then we'll come back and try the hard ones. Whatever. But whatever was the trigger, I need to try and get them away from that trigger if I can. So I'm true. And again, information seeking questions, answer the damn question. It's going to feel like Latin, but just do it. And you'll be happier. When there was something else I was thinking about with the endpoint, and I lost it. All right. Fight or flight, or freeze. In the animal kingdom, this is what's going on. I have perceived a threat, a danger. Sorry, thanks, Chris, for moving. I have perceived a threat. I either need to neutralize the threat or get away from it. Or play dead and see if it goes away. Right? That's what's going on. So as I'm listening to behavior, I'm listening to say, were they pushing something away? Were they going after something? Or were they just saying, I'm done, and they shut down, and they flop on us? Right? Then I can kind of figure out which one I'm working with. So same thing, I'm thinking about it in terms of what is that brain doing. Level 3. If you say, just do it and you'd be done already, if you miss those signs, if you're not able to get there quick enough, that next level is going to be the standoff stage. And you will know it because you're going to get refusal. This is when you're getting the no. This is when they're pushing stuff away. As soon as you've got the no, forget the empathy stage. You've missed it. That stage is past. That train is gone. You are now moved into full-blown fight or flight. As that blood leaves the thinking brain, that brain is your choice-making brain. When they move up into that red zone, they can't make choices anymore. There is no blood there. They have moved up. They've got more adrenaline, and now they're pumping. When you get refusal, it means I'm losing control. I need you to take control. So your strategy now is I've got somebody that's not rational. That means they can't make choices. So they're not choosing. They're reacting. How do we handle someone who's not choosing? We don't give them choices. That's the thing that confuses you too. You start giving them choices, and they go, I don't know, and they blow on you. Well, that's because there's no blood there to make the choice. Right? But the problem is you didn't realize they had gone to yellow because they were just asking some questions, and now they're blowing on you. And so when I get that they just go right from green to red. No. I guarantee you there's yellow in there. It's just that you're missing it or it's happening quickly, but it's there. Right? And you usually can catch it. So, if you're losing control, I need you to take control. If I'm losing control, I need you to take control. Now your strategy shifts. When you get the refusal or the no, and it's because they're getting overwhelmed, right? They're overloaded, it was too much, they got too worried, then you need to tell them what to do. That's how I get comforted, is you start taking control. You start giving directives. Let me get you to push that paper away. Let's turn that over. Let's go walk and take a talk and talk. Go get a drink of water. Let's set the timer for 2 minutes and relax. Try not, females especially, you tend to want to tell with questions. Would you like to go? Would you need? Can't do questions because they don't have that. So you got to deliver a statement. Right? Put that away, walk with me, put that down, turn the music, turn the TV off, whatever. Right? Now there's two assumptions here, and I'll make the distinction in a minute, but there's a meltdown and there's a tantrum, and they're not the same thing. If we're dealing with a meltdown, then we give directions. If we're dealing with a tantrum, we're going to do limit setting, and I'll talk about that much more. But just know that it could be one of two things. How do I know the difference? The difference is that if you're making choices, it's not a meltdown. A meltdown means you can't make choices. If the kid is making choices, he's in control. That's a power struggle. It's a whole different thing. We'll talk about it in just a second. Ignore the first words. This is where you're going to get that nastiness. The way they're going to back you up is with words, often. Right? So all the nasty, I hate you, you're the worst mother in the whole wide world. Right? All that comes out. Right? Know that that is an emotional statement, and the first thing out of their mouth is the emotion. The second thing out will be the fact. I hate you! You make me do stuff I don't want to do. This is about making you not do what you want to do. Now you got it. So, know that the first words are emotion and they're pretty ugly. Usually. Right? And then wait and listen for the second one. So, start to get used to waiting for and not responding to, well, I hate you too. No. You think you're fun? All right. If they perceived a threat, move them from the threat. Move the paper away, take the thing that was too hard, move them away from that other kid that's causing the problem, whatever. So we remove the kid or we remove the audience if that's part of what's driving up the behavior. Again, I need to either neutralize the threat or get away from it, so let's just move the stuff away. Sometimes we are the threat and we don't know. We think by getting in closer we're helping. Sometimes our kids are asking for you to back up. And so one of the best strategies when kids are ramping up is just to step back sometimes. Some of our guys will tell you, I feel compressed. They just kept coming in. Yeah. they were trying to back you up, and you didn't take it as that. You thought they did, and you came in. Sometimes just giving them the time and space, and let that adrenaline wash through, and it'll pass on through. Use as many visual and nonverbal cues as possible. If you've got, I'm going to give you some space, right? I'm going to set the timer, and then we'll talk, right? So, because they can't process language. We can't process language as we start moving up, right? So it's got to be few words, and it's got to be directives. Do this, do this, do this. For some of our guys, we can do what's called antiseptic bouncing. Sometimes you can bounce the brain into a routine, right? So Chris has a funny one where he does a Mickey Mouse voice, and about, 80% of the time it works, maybe, right? But it ain't always going to work, but he'll do it. For some of our guys, we create a routine. So, high five, give me knuckles, down low. Can I get you to go sit down? Bumping them into a routine, the brain shifts into automatic mode, just like your morning routine. And so that game or that fun for the little guys, head, shoulder, knees and toes, right? You can do that. Faith, it's wiggly arms, right? She does a wiggly arm dance with her, and it'll, again, that emotional brain has fired off, and it's looking to protect itself. Once you bump it into a routine, now the thinking brain is back in control for a little bit, and you can start coming down. For some of our guys, if they're sensory guys, sometimes they're looking for deep pressure, right? And so those of you who, they need some hugs, or they need their weighted stuff, their weighted animal, I will often, if it's a nonverbal guy, I'll often grab their hands and just start pumping and see if that settles them, right? And then I remember it was this big guy at Parkway North High School, and there was a fire alarm. And he was just dysregulated, and we're moving him out of there, and he's bumping. And I go up, and I just grab his hands, and I start talking. I know, it's a fire alarm, it's hard. And then he went like this, and I said, you want me to squeeze your head? And I started doing head squeezes. Came right down. Over time, what I did with them was, let's teach him to give his own head squeezes. So what we did was, give me your hands, and I pushed my hands on top of his, and then I pushed on his hands, and then I said, now you do it. And then over time, he started doing it, and we just held his shoulder, and then eventually we just went and stood with him and said, head squeezes, and then eventually he learned to do it himself. What you're seeing here is the other thing. Right now, most of your guys need you to regulate them. They're not self-regulated. We'll talk about it in a little bit. They're co-regulated. Where we get stuck is we don't know how to move out of them always needing us. And so I'll talk about how we plan for that. But just know that that's an example of where I help them understand how to teach him to deliver his own regulation. Level 4 is storming. That's it. You're over. They're out of control. Right? At that point, keep them safe. Keep yourself safe. If it's a classroom, we're going to remove the class. Use blocking techniques. Just get your arms up and block if they're coming at you, and just keep backing up. Put something between you and them. Grab a pillow, right? And just let it wash out. You back up enough, and they usually will stop coming, right? Or just letting them move will get them to start to come down. But they've got to get that adrenaline through their brain. And so until it goes down, just be aware, especially for you moms who, as your guys are getting bigger, just always be aware of where that as he starts to go up, where's the door? Just be turning and not let him be between you and the door. So you've got a way out of there if you need it. Better have them attack objects than people. Time and space is the strategy. Once that cycle's moving, the adrenaline just has to get out of that brain. We've got to come out of this brain. When we come out of that brain, we get the sorrow phase. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Cry, right? Or they fall asleep. If we go back to that curve, as they went up the curve, you started going up. When we get to the sorrow phase and they're coming down, what you need to realize is you're still up here. And it's going to be very hard to do this next phase, but this is what you need to do. they have scared themselves. If you've ever lost control, you know how scary that is. And they feel disconnected. And so what they are doing is they're trying to reconnect. For our kids with trauma, they're trying to say, do you still love me? Right? I've had people in my life who, when I did this, they didn't love me anymore. And so they're worrying about that. Right? And so your job is to reconnect them. They're emotionally exhausted. Every muscle got turned on, and now they're... Some of them will fall asleep, and then we figure out that they needed the sleep in the first place. And needed the sleep before. So, you are escalated. So when they start apologizing, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I know better. I'm telling you now, your first instinct is to say, damn right, you know better, I taught you. Not the time. You got to suck it up and go, it's going to be okay. We all have bad days. You know, I wanted a new laptop anyway. It's okay. All right. Your job is to build rapport. I love you no matter what. I'm not going away. I don't love the behaviors, but I love you, and don't worry, I'm here. We're going to be okay. How do we know when we're done with the cycle? You're done with the cycle when they can make choices again. If the cycle begins by blood leaving choice making, the cycle ends when blood is going into choice making. So, as they're coming down or recovering, you check by asking them to do something simple. Hey, could I get you to get that for me? Hey, could you move the chair over here for me? Hey, could you slide over a little bit? Ask for some kind of little compliance. If you get compliance, it means they chose. If they chose, they're in control. When you can make choices, you are in control. When you can't make choices, you're out of control. So that's how we know when it's done. Now, you can start the teaching process. Hey, what's going on? What do you think happened? What can we do differently? What would have helped? Right? Now you can do all those things. And then we can think about replacement behaviors. Hey, you know, next time, how about if you tell me this? Or what about if you do this? Or how about you use your brake pass? Or how about if you let me know that those noises really irritate you? Or you notice that your chest is getting tight. So we're going to work on that. All right. I told you there's a difference between a meltdown and a tantrum. A meltdown occurs when someone has become overwhelmed. The sensory has overloaded. Okay? They are not making choices, and how you know is they will harm themselves. A tantrum is someone who's trying to get what they want. The clearest example I ever saw of it was I got called out to a Rockwood school for a kindergartner, and can you come right away? And I come, and the room is destroyed. And I look over, and there's the principal, and this kid couldn't have been higher than my knee. I'm looking at the room, and I'm like, I've never seen a room destroyed like this. Every curriculum had been ripped up. He'd gone to the laminate on the cabinets and pulled the laminate off the cabinets. Right? And they're walking around, and they did this, and they did this, and then we get to the birthday wall. And all the kids' birthdays have been torn up, except for one. Whose birthday's still on the wall? I said, this was not a meltdown. He was in total control. What? How could he have missed his birthday? What are the odds that that's the one? He was in total control. And so, what I said was, this kid needs limits. And what had happened was they kept backing off limits and saying, okay, how about if you just do this? How about these choices? How about these? How about these? How about these? For a kid who needs structure, you start backing off structure, and he gets more and more nervous. And now he starts to do things to try and get some order. And so for him, it was these meltdowns. Not meltdowns, they were tantrums. Right? So, when it's you'll know it's a tantrum because they're making choices. If I turn on the internet right now and I say tantrum videos, right? We go to YouTube. You see the kid, he drops her, right? Parent gets up, moves to the kitchen. Kid stops, looks around, runs to the kitchen. That's a tantrum. That's total control. Watch the moms who leave the kid on the ground in the grocery store, go to the other aisle, and he jumps up and he runs to the next aisle. That's a tantrum. All right? If you move and they follow you, they're in control. If I'm out of control, I don't usually follow people. I usually just need to, they're in control. So just know that they're different. If it's a tantrum and we're dealing with a power struggle, the yellow will look the same. Right? They'll ramp up, they'll start doing behaviors. But when we get to the red, we got to let our no's be no's and our yeses be yeses. This is limit setting time. So my 3 limit setting strategies are the when then, the if then, and the interrupt and redirect. That's some of the strategy that some of the parents have been working with, is learning how to deliver a when then or an if then when they get the power struggle. When then. When you do blank, you can have blank. When you finish your vegetables, then you can have the cookie. When you ask me with a polite voice, then I will answer your question. I'll never forget the clearest example of this I ever saw. This kid had threatened to shoot up the school, and so he was about to be expelled. They gave him a chance to explain that his language was related, because those phrases only came out during English class. The only time he said stuff like that. And that was the class he had the most trouble with. So, all right, so they were willing to take that on me. So he had lit his mom's driveway on fire. He had her in total, like she just whatever. So we're sitting there, and she goes, and there's a text. He says, "Where the F are you? Get your effing ass down here." And she's about to answer. I said, "Stop. What are you doing?" "I'm going to let her know." I said, "No, you're not. This is what you're going to type. When you ask me with a kind voice and you are polite, I will let you know when I will be there." Like that. "What the F?" I said, "Don't respond." And then a minute goes by. "Mom, are you coming soon?" Right? He needed limits. Limit setting. So, when then? When they're asking you for something and you're like, "No, just say when." I think it was Michael, wasn't it, where you gave me an example of that, where he wanted to do the science project. He really didn't want to do it, but you said, you used a when then. What was it? When you did some chore or some task or something.
Well, I mean,
Helped you with something in the
it
kitchen?
helps a lot. Anytime you say, if you do this, then, I mean, it works all the time for him.
So the example was, he asked for a science, as I remember, it was a science kit he wanted to do, making soap.
Making ice cream.
Ice cream, not soap. Okay, making ice cream. Right? And she really was not like looking forward to making ice cream that day, but she was ready to say no, and instead she said when. Well, when you help me with the dishes or clean up or something you're doing, then we can do it. And then they both end up having a nice day.
Yeah.
All right. So by moving, instead of when you're always saying no, shift to a when. When you do this, then you can have it, if that's okay. If it's something you're willing to give up, right? If it's something you're willing to live with, then when then? So instead of no, when? What's the difference when I say when you do this, then you can have it? What do you hear in that? Why is it probably effective? What is it?
They have a little control.
You're giving us some control. It's up to you if you get it. Well, if you eat the vegetables, you can have the cookie. I didn't say no. I said when.
How does this work when it's something that you're not going to say yes to? Like
That's a different one.
try to put
Yeah.
cat in the bathtub.
That's interrupt and redirect.
No, you can't do that. How do you?
You let your no be no.
Okay.
That's the second problem is you guys have gotten often no, 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 damn it, okay, no. They wear you down. And they've learned you get 5 no's and they'll get it on the 5th one. Right? And then you hold out for 5 and then they know you get on the 6th, and you're up here with, oh my God. All right. So that's the interrupt and redirect. I'll get to that in just a second. So hang on and then tell me if I answer. If I don't, we'll come back to it. All right. So that's the when then. The if then is when you want to give them you're going to let them know there's a consequence coming. If you keep this up, there will be a consequence. If you keep talking to me with a nasty tone, then there will be no TV tonight. If you can gather yourself and ask me nicely, I will discuss with you how you can earn your TV. If then. If you continue this way, not so good. If you do it this way, it'll get what you want. that if then is very good for our guys because their brain understands that. It works in that model. Number two, you're putting the ball in their court. If they want it, here's how they get there. The third thing is it changes you. You move from kind of always being negative to thinking about, well, under what conditions would I allow it? And it moves you into a more positive frame. And so now you don't dread these interactions anymore because now you've got a tool. And so you can think about, well, what would I like to get for him to get that? Right? And it starts to move you into a place where it's a win-win. That feels a lot better than delivering no's all day. That's exhausting. So, all right. The last one is when the no needs to be a no, it's an interrupt and redirect. Don't even let them finish the damn sentence. Can I put the cat in the no? No. Right? Set the cat down and go get your bat. Can I? No. Put the cat down and go get that. Interrupt and redirect. This is from my daughter. I have 3 daughters. They're now grown. Gianna turns 21 tomorrow. Okay. What is it?
We just have a break, maybe 5 minutes.
All right.
Whenever there's a good spot.
I'm about to finish the cyclops, and
Yeah,
then
whenever you're ready.
we'll take the break. All right. Thank you for the cue. All right. So my middle daughter is my ADD daughter, and my wife homeschooled, and so I come home, and there may have been a hormonal storm of Bruno, I don't know, but I get there, and the two of them lock horn. Right, and I come in, and I get between them, and I say, Angelina, when you're using a calm tone and a soft voice, we'll be able to talk about this. And I just start backing her up. Angelina, when you're using a calm tone and a soft voice, then we'll have a conversation. When you have a calm tone and a soft voice, and I just keep walking up, and she's moving back. And then I turn to my wife and say, go back. Right? Interrupt and redirect. It's the no is a no. If it's got to be a no, then you deliver it as a no, and you redirect them to what you want. I need you on track and doing your thing, or keep it up. That's when it's got to be a no, it's got to be a no, and you've got to stick to your no's. It's just that the boundaries need to be there. Because again, we're dealing with power struggles. And for many times, they've gained all the power, and you feel powerless. The way you get it back is you start saying, when you do this, you can have it. If you can do it, you can have it. And you start thinking about what are those pathways forward. And then the no has to be a no. If it's something they shouldn't be doing, it has to be no.
I was just gonna say before we break though, for me, a few times, it got a little uglier before it got better. So.
Thank you for that reminder. I didn't mention that. So her comment was, it might get uglier because they've gotten used to wearing you down. Right? So this is what we call an extinction burst in the literature. If this worked in the past, if I raised my voice and that worked, and now you say no, no, get going, I guess I didn't raise my voice loud enough. Let me get louder. And so it's going to go up. So know that it's going to go up a little bit. You've got to know it's going to go up, and you've got to hang in there, because if you give in there, that's the new level. You now shape the behavior to say, oh, that's what it takes. Okay, now I know where to go. It's got to be. No's got to be no, and you've got to be ready to deliver that no. And so that's thank you for that reminder. That, yeah, for some of our guys, we're going to see an escalation, but if you're telling them what to do when you use a calm voice, right, when you get moving in this direction, you're telling them the right way to go. You don't get as much of an escalation often. But if it's just a no and a no and a no, I call it the broken record technique. It'll work, but you will get an escalation because it's not working anymore. Okay? All right, so let's take a pause here, and then I'll talk about emotional regulation.
I think that's at every family's background.
So no cat in the bathtub,
They had me setting up this camera at the last minute. Let me pause this.
Oh, is someone watching?
Came in January, so we won't be able to.
All right, so what do I got, 30 more minutes? All right, well, first part was supposed to go 30 minutes, but we had good conversation, so we'll keep going. So the research on emotional regulation tells us that once a kid learns to emotionally regulate, the learning goes up, which makes sense, right? If I'm dysregulated, I'm not really ready for learning. And so teaching emotional regulation is important because we know that it gets you ready for learning and being engaged. So someone who can regulate is able to process verbal, nonverbal. They're most available for learning. They can actively participate. They can remain socially engaged. And they can attend to what's most relevant. What that means is when they're not regulated, none of that happens. And so why we've been focusing on it here this year is because we want to make sure we've got everybody in the green zone. And so one of the rules now is if a kid is not in green and he's in the yellow, don't put him in the classroom. If you're already moving up on that scale, it ain't a whole lot more to go to red. So, right, if we're finishing my class and you're not transitioning well, I need to take you into the hall and then let's get you back to green again before I have you go into that room. If presenting you with work is a problem and you start ramping up on it, let's work on breathing and get yourself, and then we'll move. So being aware of it. So to do it, you got to be aware of your own body state, and this is the major issue for most of our guys. They're not aware of what they're feeling in their body is the clue that they're ramping up. You know it. You can spot it. You can see the red going up their neck. You can see them. And so you know they're not quite right and maybe I better wait. But what we need is for them to learn to spot it. And so how we do that is, depending on their verbal level, there can be the simple motor levels. Learning to look at your hands, seeking some oral input, rocking, spinning. That's how they may regulate at that earlier ages. That's what is typical for, the pre-verbal kids, the less than 2-year-olds. That's not unusual, right? For those who have students that are less verbal, these might be the strategies that they're using. As they gain language, they gain more ability to regulate their emotion using language. And so here we can work on self-talk, saying, it's okay, I'll be all right. Right? And then, as we get more advanced, we get into the metacognitive strategies. And that's thinking about what I can do in the future when I encounter that problem, talking myself through it, and that kind of thing. So depending on the intellectual and the verbal language level, we've got different strategies. But we know that there's different strategies for different levels. I talked about self-regulated versus co-regulated. So again, that's the piece that we often miss, is that we work on regulating them, but we don't think about how we move them to the self-regulation. And so I'll talk a little bit about that. Effective emotional regulation is not automatic for many of our individuals with developmental disabilities, but it is a skill that can be taught. It has to be taught and modeled and practiced. And so this is what I've encountered over and over again with families is they got a label and they thought, well, then that's just who they are and they can't do this. No, they're still learning, aren't they? Well, this is something you can learn. Will you be great at it? I don't know. But you can get better at it. So teaching skills and understanding that we're going to work on skills and we're going to keep moving in this direction because it's going to help you. But often, we kind of say, well, that's just how this disability is. No. Right? There's ways to learn to regulate it, and you're doing it. So if you're helping them regulate, they can learn to do it. It's just, we got to think about how to teach it. So how do we teach it? The 3 levels, the 3 stages are, first, knowing what an emotion is. Mad, sad, glad. Right? Do they have that language? Can we teach it to them? Can we point to it? Can we learn to identify mad, sad, glad? The next level up is emotional understanding. Right? So the problem with mad, sad, glad is that if I've only got mad, sad, glad, and now something is irritating me, well, I'm not sad and I'm not glad, I must be mad, and you get a big reaction to a little problem. If you're getting big reactions to little problems, what you've got is someone who only has big words. they've only got words in that red zone. If we go green, yellow, red, like a stoplight. And so if I've only got red words, you're getting red behavior. And so this is where the language piece ties into the emotional regulation. And so if I can teach you these words, or the words that you need for wherever is right for you, then you can learn how to act when it's less of an emotion. But if I only got big words and you're going to get big behaviors. So if I'm getting big reactions to small problems, I don't have a grasp of those words for smaller feelings. So how do we teach it? You can collect pictures and label them. Which one's mad, sad? We've got 8 basic emotions: happiness, anger, surprise, sadness, disgust, fear. This happens to be a study that came out in '87, back when the Google glasses had come out. And what they did was they had 6,000 different faces, and when you were wearing the Google glasses, if you looked at a face on somebody, it would match and tell you it was most likely a happy face you were looking at, or it was a sad face. And it would give them that emoji and the color so they knew what emotion they were seeing. These were guys with autism who are not good at reading faces. That's really the biggest deficit that we're dealing with autism. And within 6 weeks, 20% of the guys did not need the glasses anymore. They were reading emotions so accurately because they knew where to look for the clues, and they were getting the clue, and pretty soon they learned it. The other 80% within the 6 weeks had learned to do it with the glasses. And then they were able to fade the glasses out after the trial ended at 16 weeks. So again, the skills can be taught. So you might teach it by making some lists. When you're afraid, maybe other words for that are anxious, worried, cautious, frightened, if they're more highly language. But it can be just as simple of not ready or irritated. But I start with their words. If they don't have them, I'll start giving them some possible words. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about words that go in the green, the yellow, and the red. So again, the green is I'm calm, I'm fine, I'm doing well. Right? But the yellow words are the ones that are using missing. And so we've got red words, and so we jump up into red. So high stress words. I'm about to blow, I'm angry, moderate, anxious, feeling sad, frustrated. Low stress, doing my work, getting along. All right. Emotional regulation then is learning strategies that you can do to calm yourself down. So emotional, becoming aware of the emotions, then becoming aware of the language of emotion, and then learning strategies. So at each level, we'll teach you different things you can do. For low stress, you might squeeze toys, sit, do seat push-ups, where you push down on the chair. Moderate, maybe for you, it's listening to relaxing music or taking a break. And for high stress, walk, no talk, break time. These are, and again, all these slides are in your handout, so you've got every slide. But these are some of the tools that are out there. The social skills book is for kids with very little language, and it's got pictures to go with the emotions. The Incredible Flexible You is really at a kind of a pre-K kindergarten level, and it'll teach games that you can play. It's got music to go and songs that they can sing to go with the emotions. Superflex is a comic book series with a superhero who teaches you how to deal with these evil villains that get in your head, like Rock Brain, who gets you stuck in your thinking, and Fragile, Glass Man, who's fragile, and you break down over every little tiny thing. Doff, Destroyer of All Fun, he's the one who ruins all your games because you have to win and it's only you. And so you learn how to fight these evil villains with Superflex. And again, there's like 23 different little comic books to go with that. When My Worries Get Too Big, relaxation book for children who live with anxiety. So these are some of those out there. But here at the Academy, we're bringing in Zones is the one we're going to be using. And so again, some of the parents have bought it for themselves. It comes with materials that you can print up and do. You can do all of this at home that they're doing at school, and it'll give you strategies. For those of you who have older students, These are ones that are more for the secondary level. And so you've got those resources. The social behavior mapping is that one I gave you. That's right out of this book. There's 50 maps already done in there, and then a blank one. Okay. And so if that's a strategy you want, know that there is a book that has it in there. Superflex and zones uses that same chart and that same language of expected and unexpected. So you'll see crossovers between these curriculums. So zones, it'll take you through with worksheets, understanding different perspectives. When I'm in the green zone and is expected, other kids might feel around me, right? And then thought bubbles, other kids might be thinking when I do those unexpected behaviors, and what might they do or say? And so it's got the speech bubbles. So there again, it's supporting language with the thought bubbles, the speech bubbles. The purpose of zones is it's going to start by teaching the faces. Happy face, sad face. And making sure that you're good on reading the faces. Right? It's got 18 lessons. And again, it can go from kindergarten up to 12th grade. And it's just for cognitive abilities. So let's see. So zones teaches... What do I want to get out of that? I'm going to keep moving here fast. All right. So the zones. Green, yellow, red, like a stoplight. What I like about zones is it has a blue. Blue means I'm feeling blue. I'm not ready to work. I'm under calm. The blue is the one that is telling us that I'm not ready. Blue is like a brake pass. Touch blue. I'm not ready. Blue is the one that a number of kids were using. They were saying, I need a minute. Well, that's telling me I'm not ready. Yeah, but it's a minute means he never wants to do it. Well, then we set a timer and say, you got a minute. With limits on, right? Now, okay, you weren't ready. I gave you a minute. Are you green now? No. I tell you what, put your name on the piece of paper, and then I'll give you another minute. And I'm going to keep asking you to do a little something and do it. Green is for well-regulated. I'm available for learning. Yellow is I'm getting a little bit anxious, a little bit worried, a little bit annoyed. So I still have some control of my behavior. And then there's the red, extreme dysregulation, not in control. So what I like about zones is that in using that scale, kids can understand levels. So now they can take the emotions and they can put it into a levels. So this starts to help with those big blow-ups over little problems. Where zones lead you is it starts by identifying these, and then it kind of does a column at a time. This is kind of the end result. We want a chart that says, what does it look like when I'm frustrated? Pacing, repeating questions. What does it look like when I'm getting angry? Shouting, throwing, stomping, pushing. Right? The most important part is, as we do these, we ask them, what does it feel like? And they'll tell you, I don't know. So you give them some clues. But for me, I usually feel it in my stomach or in my chest first. Oh, yes, I feel that too. Or if you notice they're tightening up. Or if you notice they complain about their tummy. Right? So watching for what's happening in that yellow. Sometimes we have to put it what we see and then teach them. All right. And then that last one is, what can I try? I could talk it out, blow it out, count it out. I could accept help, hold my hand up and tell people I need some space. Here's the value of this chart. One is you want to practice it when they're not escalating. So the parents have been modeling, you know what? I'm in the red zone right now, but I'm not throwing and pushing. Right? Or how about that time Dad got locked out of the house? Where do you think he was? Was he yellow or red? Yeah, he was using those words, upper red word. Yep, you got it, right? What was the one tonight that I had a phone call with one of the parents tonight, and it was the dad was trying to assemble put the TV up on the wall, hang up the and they were all laughing and pointing at the zones chart as he was doing this. That was a yellow. No, now he's red. Oh, yeah, he's red. All right. But we model it. We show them that we go through levels, and they go through levels, and we teach it, right? And then when they're starting to move up. I notice you're repeating questions. Can you tell me which emotion that is? Move your finger over here. Oh, you're yellow. It's frustrated. What can we do? We can talk it out loud. Again, as you're losing ability, the last skill you lose is visual. The first skill you lose is verbal translation. As you get escalated, your ability to process language starts going down. The last one to leave you is visual. And so having something visual will go right into that reacting brain. In fact, your visual cortex goes right to the back of the brain and down into your limbic system. But your verbal one has to go through, get processed, and then move. Visual does not require a lot of processing, right? Because again, when we're in fight or flight, we're processing the visual. We're watching for the teeth and the claws, and we're running, and right? So that's working. So why this is effective is it's visual. And so I can use this in different ways. Where are you at? Are you green? No. Which one are you? I'm either blue or yellow. I'm not sure because I'm a little worried. Okay, let's figure it out. In the meantime, what can you do if you're not ready? You could ask for a rest. Do you think that's what you need? Or do you need to walk it out and talk it out? So we can have a conversation about strategies. But again, once the brain starts to fire off into that limbic system, I need to get in there. And so by holding up a visual or giving you a learning to practice to look for, which one am I, it pauses the reacting brain. It's going to give you that pause that you need to then try a solution. Okay. So for some of my guys, they will not admit they are anything but green. I don't know why, but I'll tell you that it is the most common with my guys with Down syndrome. I don't know why, but I'm happy! Walk and talk with me. Yeah. Okay. No, you're happy, but but you're throwing desks and you're stomping and right. I see. Am I right? Am I seeing throwing and stomping? Yeah. Okay, let's slide our finger over. Are you? What color is that? Red. We're in the red zone. Let's go over here and see what we can do. Boom, 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 boom. So this visual support, as we build this chart, and by the way, you don't build the whole thing. You start with getting words in there, and then what does it look like, and then you can move into what can I try, and then you can add in what it feels like. So zones will take them through step by step and build this, but this is what you're heading towards.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is red also ever like
Happy, angry. Yeah.
like
You got it.
wound up?
Thank you. So her question was, is the red zone only anger or fear? No. Elated is red. I didn't have time to go into all this, but for some of your guys, they're reading energy, but they're not reading emotion. I'll say that again. They're reading energy, but they're not reading emotion. I was at Parkway West Middle, and we were sitting in a class, and it was the pods, and these two teachers had some game where they kept stealing this trophy from each room, and then they would sneak in and get it, and all of a sudden, the teacher's teaching her lesson, and then she says, "What? When did he get in here and get that trophy?" And they're all like, "Whoa!" Kid jumps and goes, "I'm gonna kick your ass." The room went to red, but it wasn't an upset red. He read the red, and he jumps up, and he squares off on something. So to your point, we're going to that point. Thank you. Yeah, elated is a red word. So what we teach is, it's okay to go to red, you just can't stay there. You stay elated all the time, it ain't good. Well, for my older guys and my more advanced guys, I'll say, what happens if you talk out of the red? What happens if one of my guys was, him and his dad would get into it, and I said, so what happens, where was your dad? He was in the red. Where were you? I was red. How does it go when you both talk to each other in red? I don't know. What do you think? I said, what if one of you wasn't in the red? You might go better. Came back. Hey, my dad went in the red, and I just stayed in the green. He got red. All right. Well, guess somebody's in control. Yeah, so again, they're reading energy. This was some of the one things I worked on with the parents too, is they realized that when they were approaching the interaction with the sons, they were actually anxious about it. And as the kid read the anxiety, they responded in anxiety. And so one of the ones that they'll tell you that they worked on was calm confidence. Just let me calm myself first, and then I'm going to interact with you. And we saw pretty big, sometimes big changes that would happen because that energy level is in there. So again, any animal in the animal kingdom can read the energy. We're watching the Super Bowl, we all cheered the touchdown, my dog starts barking. My dad has no idea why the pack went on alert, but my dog knows we went on alert. Right? Can my dog tell you what the emotion was? No. So know that a lot of times parents will tell me, oh, he's very empathetic. He knows the emotion. He knows the energy. And he also knows our energy. And so one of the things that I had to learn to be a good intervener was I had to learn to calm myself when I came into an intervention. I'll tell you it's exhausting to keep myself there, and then afterwards I just kind of crash, but I can do it. I can stay really nice and calm, and I can be calm, confident throughout. So to that point, know that most of our guys, they're part of the animal kingdom like we are. We're part of social animals. Social animals read energy. It's how we stay alive. Before we get language and we get emotion and we get the words that go to it. So this is a way to teach the words, to teach the strategies, to teach I can use it as an intervention. I can either say, tell me what level you are, and then that automatically lets them communicate. They don't have to repeat anymore. They touched yellow, or they can touch blue and say, not ready. And we say, okay, you're a little tired or draggy. Do you need a rest, or you need to do something to rev you up? There's two kinds of blue. Right? One is I need more rest, and the other is I just need to wake up. So it depends on which one. Right? And so we can put that in there. Would you guys add anything else about the zones that have been used in the zones?
So is that language now being used in the school?
Yeah. Everybody's talking about reading. She asked if that language is being used in the school.
No.
Yep. So we did this workshop with the teachers at the end of last year, and then we did it again at the beginning of this year to start off the school year. Most of the rooms you'll go in, you'll see a blue, green, yellow chart on the desk, so kids can point, teachers can point, and then there's basic words in there. Some have their own charts that they created. So Faith came with their box that had her words on it that Grandma and Mom created for her. And then she's using her own version on her desk. But she knows what green, yellow, red are.
You use the word bored. So sometimes I feel like, Mateo says, oh, I'm bored, I don't want to do this. It's really because it's too hard for him. So then what do you call that in that area there? Would that be blue?
So he's still not ready.
Not ready, okay.
Right? He's also saying, I need a minute, when he really means I don't want to do it.
Yes.
Right? So either way, he's telling us, he's using his words, so we're not getting behavior. I'd rather have words than behavior. Now we need to shape it. Okay, not ready. He was saying I need a minute, and then he meant I'm not going to do it. We're now saying, okay, how much time do you need? I'll set the timer. And then we set a timer. And then when the timer is done, we say, where are you at? Are you green? What's making you, are you sure you're blue or maybe you're yellow? Maybe you're worried about this worksheet. Maybe you're worried, is it too much? How about we do 2 instead of 4? And now we try things. Or, okay, you still need another minute? Go ahead and put your name on the paper for me and then I'll give you the minute. And so what we'll do is we'll try and engage you, because what we also know about Mateo especially is once he gets started, he'll roll. Right? And so we get him rolling. But it at least gives us a way to start having the conversation about it. But that's a great point is, yeah, that blue one can be tricky. But this is what I know. They've been doing stuff to get out of the work already. And they've gotten all kinds, and what happens is if you don't spot what it is, you're missing what's going on. And you think it's something else, right? So if it's avoidance, great. Touch blue. I'll give you the break. Did I reward escaping out of the work? No, I rewarded touching blue. I said, I'm going to reward you for using the right way to say you're not ready. You touched blue. I'll give you the reward. I don't want to do it. Touch blue, and I'll give you the break. Give me a hand. We touch blue. Now you go. I mean, at the beginning, that's sometimes how we have to teach it. Is we just touch it with them and then say, now you can have a break, right? But again, I don't want to reward the avoidance. I do want to reward you using your words. I do want to reward you communicating you're not ready, and then I'm going to honor it. If you learn to trust that when I touch blue and you honor it, you don't have to go up and behave. Pretty soon, you start to use the word that goes with it, and you start to use the strategy, and then you know I'm going to be with you. So again, it's a way to start to shape the teaching of using the right way to say, I'm not ready. Or I'm yellow, and I'm anxious, and I'm worried, and how can we come down?
And the same kind of thought process applies to aim, like you're red, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a positive or negative, it's just a fact.
The emotions are neutral. This is also teaching it's okay to be red. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be angry. Absolutely. The problem has been what you've done with that anger. Right? What you've done with that rage. So now, what can we do when I feel that rage, that anger? I can hold my hand up and ask for space. It may be I need to do some squeezes or some rubbing or whatever it is, right? But now, to your point, that's the other thing is, yes, you feel that. Absolutely you feel that. And there's nothing wrong with feeling that. It's the behavior that's the problem. If I don't teach a new behavior, they're stuck. So that's why we want to go on that teaching side. Zones also has in it things like I can try some different things and then we can see how it worked. Yes, no, yes. And now we can graph and say which ones worked and we can see that actually these are probably your better strategies and this one not so much. Right? So it gives you ways to kind of play with it and work through it. Again, all of these are in those reproducibles that come with the zones. It used to come with a CD. Now it comes with then it used to come with a hard drive. I don't know. It come with a website or what's it come with? Website? So now you just go onto their website and you download it. All right. There are other strategies out there, Credible 5-point scale. They have linked in with zones, so you'll see the green and the yellow and the red. But they're going to do 5 instead of 3. For some of our guys, that makes more sense to them because they've got very big gradations of emotion. But again, the more language I can get in there, the more I can have reactions for that language, the more control I have over my behavior. So the way we teach emotional regulation is by teaching language. I'm part of the iSocial team that put this product together. I was part of the research team that did this research at Mizzou. And we've offered this for your guys here at the Academy before. But what I'll show you is it starts with recognizing faces. Then it teaches sharing ideas. Then it takes turn-taking. And then it moves into feelings and emotions and creating a scale. And then it moves into problem solving. For all the years I was out there teaching and training, it wasn't until I saw that model that something made sense. We teach these guys how to problem solve, and they're amazing at it when they're calm. The problem was, once they got escalated, they couldn't access all that good thinking. I'm telling you, I got some guys who can tell you every bit about how to problem solve, and you solve your problems all day long, but once they got escalated, they couldn't do it. And so, this made sense, that I had to teach you how to recognize your emotions before, and then you could move into your problem solving. So, we don't ever problem solve until we're calm in iSocial. And then before that, you got to learn how the conversations, and back we go. So, just know that that's a product that's out there. Yeah, okay. So behaviorist communication is kind of our key point. There's an escalation cycle, and there's different levels for that cycle. So again, the key pieces you want to watch for is that anxious behavior, that rumbling, that simmering. If you're getting that information-seeking questions, the right strategy is the empathy statement, just like we practiced. Mirroring for those guys that the empathy statement is not going to compute and you get repeating. And then once you get refusal, you're out of control. Take control. That's the bigger help. If you get that no, just know that you've missed the stage and you're going to have to work a little harder to get the turnaround. So, all right? All right. It's 9 o'clock. I don't want to hold you longer, but hopefully that was helpful to you. Give you some ideas. Yeah. All right.
Q&A, anybody?
I'm happy to answer questions. Sure.